Welcome to College Briefing. The content of the briefing includes: Prisons must focus on education, Chief Inspector. AP Week in Pictures, Global, December 22 to December 28, 2023. A tax increase, LGBTQ+ youth protections and more sick leave highlight California's new laws in 2024. Silicon Valley's dark sustainability secret. This pub group's acquisition of a troubled rival looks smart, we'll hold on. Prisons must focus on education, Chief Inspector. BBC. The Chief Inspector of Prisons in England and Wales, Charlie Taylor, has called for a fundamental reorientation of the prison system to focus on education, training and rehabilitation, in order to reduce reoffending rates. Taylor argued that many prisoners were failing to learn to read or to participate in courses that would help them find jobs in the future. He also highlighted the high availability of drugs in prisons as a hindrance to rehabilitation efforts. Last week, the UK prison population stood at over 87,000. The government has launched a new prisoner education service to improve outcomes for those released from custody. AP Week in Pictures, Global, December 22 to December 28, 2023. Associated Press. The article discusses the annual Paku Jawi bull race competition in Tanah Datar, Indonesia, which has become a popular tourist attraction. It also mentions other events such as Good Riddance Day in New York, where people burn notes symbolizing hope for a better year ahead, and a celebration in Venezuela where devotees douse a statue with gallons of rum. The article includes a gallery of compelling images published by the Associated Press. A tax increase, LGBTQ+ youth protections and more sick leave highlight California's new laws in 2024. Associated Press. Several new laws are set to take effect in California on January 1, 2024. These include a law allowing doctors in California to mail abortion pills to patients in other states, offering them protection from prosecution and fines. The law also bans bounty hunters from apprehending California doctors and taking them to other states to stand trial. It also prohibits state-based social media companies from complying with out-of-state subpoenas, warrants, or other requests for records to discover the identities of patients seeking abortion pills. Another law being introduced is one that protects workers from being fired for using marijuana outside of work, unless they work in construction or for a company that must conduct drug tests as part of federal contracts. Other new laws include an increase in paid sick leave from 3 to 5 days per year, a law that removes the wage cap on California's short-term disability program, and a law that allows religious institutions and nonprofit colleges to turn their properties into affordable housing. Silicon Valley's dark sustainability secret. Telegraph. Data centers that power artificial intelligence, AI, tools such as ChatGPT are consuming vast amounts of water, exacerbating the global water crisis. Freshwater accounts for just 3% of all water on Earth, and less than 1% can be used for drinking or irrigation. Demand for water has increased by 40% over the past 4 decades and is expected to rise by a further 25% by 2050. Data centers are now the 10th largest water consumers in the U.S. Companies such as Google and Microsoft, which operate large data centers, are facing increasing tensions with local communities over water usage. Solutions such as using seawater are not straightforward due to the need for purification and the corrosion of cooling pipes. The problem is compounded by the fact that water used for cooling data centers cannot be recycled like water used for other purposes. BofA estimates that addressing the global water scarcity threat will cost around $1 trillion per year until 2030, equivalent to just 1% of global GDP. This pub group's acquisition of a troubled rival looks smart, we'll hold on. Telegraph. UK pub company Young's has announced plans to acquire City Pub Group in a deal worth £162 million, $217 million. The acquisition will be funded by a £130 million loan facility and will be completed in Q1 2023. Young's believes it can generate substantial synergies from the deal, including staff cuts and greater use of technology. The timing of the purchase could prove beneficial, as the pub sector is expected to see an improving economic outlook and a boost in consumer confidence. Young's shares are currently trading 21% below their October 2017 purchase price. Bob Johnson, guitarist with folk rock pioneers Steel A Span, who had a hit with the Carol Gaudette obituary. Telegraph. Bob Johnson, guitarist for the English folk rock band Steel A Span, has died at the age of 79. Johnson joined the band in 1972 and played on their successful albums Below the Salt and Parcel of Rogues. He sang lead vocals on the track King Henry and introduced other trademark songs to the band's repertoire. Steel A Span enjoyed commercial success in the 1970s, but their popularity faded as folk rock went out of fashion. Johnson left the band in 1977 but rejoined in 1980 and remained a member until 2001. Ex-student found competent to stand trial for stabbing deaths near University of California, Davis. The Toronto Star. Carlos Reales Dominguez, a former college student in California, has been found competent to stand trial for allegedly stabbing 2 people to death and injuring another. Dominguez had been a third-year student at the University of California, Davis, until he was expelled in April 2017 for academic reasons. Following his expulsion, the stabbings occurred, causing fear and panic in the local community. Dominguez was arrested in May and later admitted guilt in a court hearing. The case was put on hold in August after it was determined that Dominguez was not mentally capable of participating in criminal proceedings. However, a recent evaluation deemed him competent, and criminal proceedings will resume on January 5 if there are no challenges to his mental state. For transgender youth in crisis, hospitals sometimes compound the trauma. Yahoo! 4 days of waiting in UNC Hospital's psychiatric emergency room left Callum Bradford desperate for an answer to one key question. Louisiana Supreme Court won't hear Caddo Sheriff's race appeal. Whitehorn reacts. Yahoo! The Louisiana Supreme Court has denied Henry Whitehorn's request for an appeal of the new election decision made by retired Louisiana Supreme Court Justice Joseph Bleish and Second Circuit Court of Appeals. What channel is Notre Dame versus Oregon State today? Time, TV. Streaming info for Sun Bowl. Yahoo! The Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Oregon State Beavers will face each other in the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. It will be the 13th bowl in the past 14 years for Notre Dame, and the 7th time it has reached double-digit victories in the past 9 seasons. Notre Dame will be without quarterback Sam Hartman and running back Audric Estime, who have opted out of the bowl. What the experts are predicting: Sun Bowl. Yahoo! The Sun Bowl is expected to give a boost to the economy of El Paso, Texas. The 2 teams are expected to give the locals a thriller in a sold-out stadium. Despite Nikki Haley's back and forth, the Civil War was about slavery. Washington Post. Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley has come under criticism for not mentioning slavery as the cause of the Civil War in a recent interview. However, it has been pointed out that the curriculum in South Carolina, where Haley previously served as governor, clearly teaches that slavery was the cause of the conflict. The South Carolina Department of Education posts instructional resources on its website that state that South Carolina seceded because of slavery. Those who try to downplay the role of slavery often argue that it was a states' rights issue, but it is pointed out that states' rights were tied to the issue of slavery. The tension over slavery had been present since the country was colonized, and the issue of slavery was never properly addressed. Washington taking lessons from boys in the boat into the CFP semifinal. Associated Press. The Washington Huskies football team took a trip to the movies before their Sugar Bowl semifinal matchup against Texas, watching the film The Boys in the Boat, which tells the story of an underdog crew from the University of Washington that won gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. The players related to the story of the underdogs beating out favored Ivy League crews during the Olympic trials, as they themselves are not 5-star recruits and have had to work their way up. The film was a good bonding experience for the team, and they related to the story of kids from modest backgrounds overcoming obstacles to achieve greatness. Washington quarterback Michael Penix Jr. said that in an 8-man boat, each player has a specific role, and trying to do too much can slow the team down. The Huskies have thrived in tough situations this season and have risen to the challenge. Blair urged radical measures to cut asylum. BBC. Documents released by the National Archives have revealed that former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair considered controversial measures to deter migrants from coming to the UK in 2003. Among the suggestions presented to Blair were the creation of a detention camp on the Isle of Mull and the breaking of international law by legislating incompatibly with the European Convention on Human Rights. Other ideas included establishing safe havens overseas for failed asylum seekers and setting up detention camps similar to those used in Australia. The Labour government did eventually tighten border control and visa measures. Victoria rower Dean Crawford won gold in upset victory at 1984 Olympics. The Globe and Mail. Dean Crawford, a member of the Canadian rowing team that won the gold medal at the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles, has died at the age of 65. Crawford, who had only a year of international experience under his belt, was part of the underdog Canadian boat that won the men's 8s event, beating the favoured teams from New Zealand and the United States. The victory marked the first time Canada had won the Olympic Regatta's premier event, and the first time in 20 years that Canada had won a medal in rowing at the Olympics. The Canadian team's victory was a major upset, and it was a race that Crawford himself nearly didn't finish. He blacked out during the final sprint to the finish line. Crawford and his teammates have been inducted into several sports halls of fame in Canada, and he continued to be involved in rowing as a coach and administrator. Crawford is survived by his wife, 3 children, father, and 6 siblings. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your resident observer, Dr. Six, reporting to you from the 6 Degrees world with the latest news updates. Let's dive right in. First, we have the Chief Inspector of Prisons in England and Wales, Charlie Taylor, advocating for a fundamental reorientation of the prison system. Taylor emphasizes the need to prioritize education, training, and rehabilitation to reduce reoffending rates. It seems that many prisoners are not given the opportunity to learn essential skills or participate in courses that can help them find employment in the future. Additionally, the high availability of drugs in prisons hampers rehabilitation efforts. It's crucial for the prison system to focus on these aspects to ensure better outcomes for those released from custody. Next, we have a glimpse into some interesting events from around the world. The Associated Press presents a collection of captivating images, including the Paku Jawi bull race competition in Indonesia, Good Riddance Day in New York, and a unique celebration in Venezuela involving gallons of rum. These events showcase the diversity and vibrancy of our global society. Moving on to California, several new laws are set to take effect in the state. Some notable changes include doctors being allowed to mail abortion pills to patients in other states, an increase in paid sick leave, and the removal of wage caps on short-term disability programs. These new laws aim to protect workers' rights, expand access to healthcare, and promote inclusivity. In Silicon Valley, we have a dark secret regarding the sustainability of data centers. These centers, powering artificial intelligence tools like ChatGPT, are consuming vast amounts of water, aggravating the global water crisis. With freshwater being a scarce resource, data centers are now among the top water consumers in the U.S. This poses a significant challenge for companies like Google and Microsoft, as tensions rise with local communities over water usage. Addressing this issue will require substantial investment, estimated at $1 trillion per year until 2030. So, let's hope they find innovative solutions soon. Shifting gears, let's talk about the business world. UK pub company Young's plans to acquire City Pub Group, aiming to generate substantial synergies and capitalizing on the expected economic improvement in the pub sector. Young's shares are currently trading below their 2017 purchase price, but with the right strategy, this acquisition could prove to be a smart move. On a somber note, we bid farewell to Bob Johnson. The guitarist for the folk rock band Steel A Span Johnson was a talented musician who contributed to the band's success during the 1970s. His passing is a reminder of the mark he left on the music industry and the influence of Steel A Span's unique sound. In other news, Carlos Reales Dominguez, a former college student in California, has been found competent to stand trial for allegedly stabbing 2 people to death. Dominguez's case has been on hold due to mental health concerns but will now resume if no challenges are raised. This tragic incident caused fear and panic in the local community, and the trial will hopefully provide closure for the victims' families. Now, let's jump into the world of sports. The Sun Bowl between Notre Dame and Oregon State is expected to be an exciting game, offering a boost to the local economy and thrilling the fans in a sold-out stadium. On a lighter note, the Washington Huskies football team found inspiration in the film The Boys in the Boat, as they prepare for their Sugar Bowl semifinal matchup. The underdog story resonated with the team, reminding them of their own journey and the importance of teamwork. Turning to matters of history and politics, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair's documents reveal controversial suggestions to deter migrants from coming to the UK. These suggestions included creating detention camps and breaking international law. While these measures were not implemented, it's interesting to see the discussions surrounding immigration and border control at that time. Lastly, we mourn the loss of Dean Crawford, a member of the Canadian rowing team that won gold at the 1984 Olympics. Crawford's victory with the underdog Canadian boat was a significant upset, and his dedication to rowing continued even after his retirement as he coached and worked within the sport. Our thoughts go out to his loved ones during this difficult time. That wraps up our news for today. Now, I'd like to hear from you, my dear audience. What are your thoughts on these stories? Do you agree with the Chief Inspector's call for prison reform? Or perhaps you have a favorite event from the AP Week in Pictures? Let's start a lively discussion, so please share your ideas and questions. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.